Hello and welcome to Made It in the States, the number one resource for finding and supporting American made products. My name is Ben Newman and I'm your host. We will be telling the stories of companies producing products here domestically. We truly believe that there is a knowledge gap issue. There are plenty of companies that are producing products right here in America. However, it is too challenging for the everyday consumer to find and support those businesses. We are here to change that. Every week, we will be talking to a new owner or CEO and learning about their story, their struggles, their triumphs, and why they are continuing to produce products right here in the United States. We are so incredibly excited to have you along for this journey. If you enjoy the podcast, please like and subscribe, as well as leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Today we have Tracy Woodard, the co-founder and owner of Covered in Cotton, a really cool business that's making blankets and other textiles. Some people may have heard of you guys. I see your ads on Instagram all the time, but I may be a little bit biased. Why don't you jump in, give us a little bit of background about Covered in Cotton and kind of how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. So it's kind of a long story, and there's a lot of elements in there, but I'll give the highlights. So my husband's family started our farm, Woodard Farms, back in 1962, and so his family, Woodard Farms, has had generations of an agriculture legacy here in South Carolina, and so we grow cotton, corn, soybeans, peanuts, beef cattle, and timber. And cotton is just has a special place in our hearts. And so I married the farmer and the farm about 16 years ago, and just found my passion for agriculture and sharing that story of sustainability and what it looks like for our country to provide this food, fuel, and fiber. And so my husband Ty and I, we would have this conversation all the time about how it'd be really cool if we had something that we could share with what we do on our farm, because our farm is what you would call a commercial row crop operation. So the corn that we're growing is not the corn you're eating from the grocery store. Like, our corn is going to North Carolina to feed hogs and chickens so we can have bacon and Chick-fil-A. And so we're kind of the start of this bigger food system. And so we miss that connection with the end user. And so we could never really think of any good ideas. And, we're busy living life. We, had 3 kids at the time, and Ty's busy on the farm. I've got a full-time job off the farm. And so, as the Lord usually does, he surprised us with just kind of dropping all of this in our lap. So in December of 2017, I woke up from a dream. And the dream was Covered in Cotton. And this vision of taking our cotton and making it into blankets. And so the name, what the logo was supposed to look like, and how our story was supposed to, be wrapped up in all of that. And so I wrote everything I saw down in a notebook, and I woke Ty up and I said, I know this sounds absolutely crazy, but I feel like the Lord's just giving me this vision for what we're supposed to do. And he said, well, let's do it. And that was really the start of Covered in Cotton. And we spent the majority of 2018 just trying to figure out how in the world to make a cotton product and build a brand and a company and live life and raise kids and work jobs and do all of that in the meantime. And so we launched coveredincotton.com in November of 2018, and we've just been on a really wild journey ever since, and it has blessed us and our family, and just has been this just incredible just piece of our life now that we get to share with other people about, the things that are most important to us, and that's our faith and our family and our farm, and all of those things just are, pun intended, woven all into Covered in Cotton. And so it's given us a really great opportunity to share that with other people.
That is incredibly an incredible story. I think waking up from a dream, having such conviction that this is what I'm going to do, and this is how we're going to go forward. And it sounds like your husband was on board from day one. He's like, "Let's do it." So it's cool to see that partnership there as well. Let's jump back a little bit, Tracy. I want to learn a little bit more about your background. What were you doing prior to this? You said you had a full-time job. What were you doing?
So I discovered in high school that my artistic side, I had this outlet for it in graphic design, and found out that, I had this talent in that. And so that was what I thought I would do. And so went to Clemson University in the graphic communications program, and had these big city dreams that I tell people I used to think I would wear high heels to work, and, have a office in a corner somewhere, and kind of live that lifestyle you see on TV. And now I nowhere near wearing high heels to work. That's not very practical in what we do or on the farm. And so my husband Ty, he never really thought that he would come back to the farm. He's the third generation of Woodard Farms, but he would work on the farm in the summers and growing up, but just it was not his passion at the time. He wanted to do sports medicine. And so when I met him, he was a biology major, and it seemed to fit both of us had big city dreams. And so again, the Lord had other plans. And that summer, after we started dating, my freshman year and his sophomore year, he came back to work on the farm like he always did, and the Lord just changed his heart. And so that really, for me, was like, well, now what am I supposed to do? I know I'm supposed to marry this man, but we're moving to Darlington, South Carolina. And at the time, there wasn't even a Walmart, and so, what does that look like for what I'm supposed to do? And so that was a time of really just wrestling and just kind of figuring out what my purpose was. And so now looking back, I can see, I use my graphic design every day in, creating content and packaging and different things for Covered in Cotton. And so my parents are really pleased that I'm putting my degree into practice because when I first graduated, I became an insurance agent, and there's not a lot of creativity there.
Definitely not. I've worked in an insurance office, and I don't think creativity would be one thing that the insurance world would look fondly
No.
at. Well, very cool to hear that, and I think it shows that you've really followed your path, and you've ended up where you're meant to be, and it's cool to see all those influences throughout your story. I want to learn a little bit more. About what happened after you had that dream, right? You have the dream, you write everything down in a notebook. I think people will be able to relate to that, right? They wake up, they have this idea. The part that can be challenging is then taking that idea and turning it into something that's sustainable and not just this idea. So what did that look like for you? I'm sure it's a very exhaustive process, but maybe the highlights of going from dream to launching Covered in Cotton in November of 2017, you said?
2018 is when we launched.
2018. Yeah, November of 2018. So what did that look like? Like, what steps did you start taking? It sounds like you probably didn't know much about making cotton textiles. What did that all look like?
Yeah. So the majority of cotton grown in the U.S. is exported. And, for us being cotton farmers, once the cotton left the cotton gin, which separates the fiber from the seed, and it's sold on the world market, we had no idea where it ends up. And so really the task of being the cotton farmer who is managing the process of a textile production is very rare. There's only a few companies that actually do that here in the US. That's the farmer managing the process, keeping it all in the US, and selling the product. And so it was kind of a far fetched idea for a lot of people we talked to, because after the dream happened, um, that next couple of days, Ty called the gin, because we had technically sold all of our cotton from our harvest that year. We harvest in the fall, um, and he called them and was like, we need to buy some of our cotton back. We had no idea even where to start, how much. So we just like settled on a round number. We're like, we'll just shoot in the dark and say 5,000 pounds. And so I tell people we didn't know whether that made one blanket or a million. So we just said, we're just going and we'll figure it out as we go. And that's really what we did. And so we had to buy the cotton back for more than we had actually seen it for, because the prices fluctuate so much. And so then I just got on the phone and called everybody that I could find that had textile associated with them that were in the US. Googled everything I could find and really found so many wonderful people in the textile industry that just wanted to help me. Some laughed and were like, "What in the world do you think you're doing?" It would be cheaper and easier for us to send this overseas. And that was one of our close-handed things. We're like, no, it has to be made here. And quite frankly, we didn't even know if that was possible. And we certainly didn't know that it was possible to do it so local to us in the Carolinas. We're so thankful there's this remnant of the textile industry in North and South Carolina. And so we really kind of worked backwards, finding what we wanted the product to look like, and then figuring out how to make all the pieces to make it actually happen. And so what our production process looks like. So we grow around 2,000 to 2,500 acres of just cotton a year.
Wow.
And so when we harvest that in the fall, it goes to the cotton gin. And so again, they take that cotton and separate it from the seed. And then all of that cotton is, a sample is taken, and we get all of the quality information back on that. And so like how long the fiber is, how strong it is, how clean it is, all of those things. And then we take those very highest quality bales, and then we pull those out for our covered in cotton process. So majority of our cotton still goes on the world market, but it's around 5% of what we grow we actually pull out for our process. And so then those bales of cotton, which is about a bale of cotton is about 500 pounds. And so we'll take those and have them transported to the yarn spinner, which is in Thomasville, North Carolina. He spins the yarn, and then it goes to Shuford Mills in Hickory, North Carolina, where they ply the yarn. So just basically twisting two yarns together. And then it comes back into South Carolina. Our weaver is Weave Tech in Blacksburg, South Carolina. And so we work with them to design our throw blankets, and the designs of our fabric that go in our hand towels and baby blankets and table linens. And then all of that comes back to a facility we built on our farm a few years ago, right here in Darlington, South Carolina, right in the middle of our farm. A lot of years there's cotton actually growing all around our building. And so we get that back. We cut and sew here, those products apart from our throws, and then we package everything and process all our online orders and ship them all over the US and the world. So it's about a 500-mile round trip from our farm back to our farm.
That's really, really interesting. I think that's one of the things we've done quite a few interviews with people in the textile industry, specifically in the Carolinas, and one of the biggest advantages that people have talked about is their really short supply chain. And so even when stuff like COVID happened, or there's the strike on the East Coast of the longshoremen, They've never had to worry about that. Even gas prices, people have talked about their supply chain is so short that those outside influences don't necessarily increase their supply chain costs significantly. There's always going to be some fluctuation there, but having that has been a really big strategic advantage, and it seems like it is for you guys as well. Well, I think I want to ask two questions and then get into Covered in Cotton a little bit more. So you said 5,000 pounds is what you started with. Didn't know how many blankets that made. I think we're all curious. How many blankets can you make from 5,000 pounds? Were you like sitting there like, holy crap, we have so much cotton?
1,632 blankets is what we were able to make out of the original 5,000 pounds.
Okay, there we go. Question is answered. Yeah. Absolutely love that. Well, let's dive into Covered in Cotton. You've mentioned a couple of the things that you make: your throws, baby blankets, all that. Could you give us a rundown of what you guys make?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything is made exclusively from our cotton. We can trace that cotton back to the field that we grew it in. And so that's really cool. And you'll see variations in year to year of maybe a slight variation in color or from products, because most of our products are natural color of the fiber, so hadn't been bleached or dyed. We do have one collection of throws that we offer in colors that we work with Spartan Dyers in Belmont, North Carolina, to have those dyed, some custom colors that we work with them on. So we have our natural collection of our throw blankets that are our signature products. We've got 4 designs in those. Those are our most popular products. The rooted collection is what we've got, our one of our designs of throws that come in 3 colors. And then we've got 3 designs of hand towels that can be used in the bathroom, the kitchen. And we have baby blankets that come in 3 different designs, like a swaddle type blanket. And then we have 3 designs in our gathering collection, which is our table linen, so runners and sets of napkins. And those are our main products.
Absolutely. I'll show people real quick. Briefly, this is one of your guys' blankets. I'm not sure which one, but there you go. We absolutely love them. They are the softest blankets that we own, and absolutely comfortable. So we'll put a picture up on the podcast as well, and we'll link everything down below for people to check it out. Appreciate you sharing a little bit more about what you guys make. Started in 2017. When was the moment when you realized that this was something that was going to be able to be sustainable, replace what you were doing outside of this prior to having this and having a full-time job? What was that moment? Was there a big month that you had and you're like, wow, I think this is going to happen? Could you help us understand that?
Absolutely. So Ty and I worked obviously both full time when we first started. Excuse me. And we would put the kids to bed at like 8, and then we would work for like until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I never remember being tired because we were just so excited about seeing this all come together. And so on into 2018, I felt the Lord tell me it was time to quit my full-time job. And I was like, that doesn't really make any sense. Like, I carry the benefits, Ty is self-employed on the farm. Like, a lot of times in farm families, you have a family member to help carry benefits. And so I was like, this doesn't really make sense. But felt that was the right thing to do. And so on into 2019, made that change. And looking back now, like the numbers still don't make sense, but knowing what was to come, that was kind of that moment where like, okay, well, this is going to work. So we won Garden and Gun Magazine's Made in the South Award in 2019. And that changed everything overnight. We found out we had won 2 hours before they announced it to the world.
Oh my gosh.
We had no context for the just community of Garden and Gun and um, the avalanche that was about to come. And so we sold out of everything. We had just restocked in like 10 days. And we had to figure out a whole new way of thinking about things because it was like, we've got to start thinking so much bigger. And so we had been doing everything out of our house. And that happened in November. And we said, we've got to get out of our house. Like, we've got to order more product. We've got to just do more and think differently than we've been thinking. And so we found an old hardware store in Darlington and rented that. And that was kind of that turning point, I would say, for us, where we're like, oh, wow, this is beyond what we really imagined. And so COVID happened the next year, and with us being set up as a online retailer already, we were able to make some adjustments and see really one of the best years we've had, because people were still having babies and anniversaries and birthdays, and a made in America cotton product, in my opinion, is this really special way to send someone this gift of comfort. We saw people put notes that say, I can't give you a hug in this time, but here's this hug from me to you. And so we just got to see this really special way that our products were a comfort for so many people during that time. And coming off of the success of Garden and Gun, just it was a strange year in so many ways, but a real blessing in a lot of ways to see those things take shape.
And talk about one of the advantages of having such a short local supply chain as well. You didn't have to deal with the shipping costs went up significantly during that time, and it was hard to get anything into the U.S. From overseas, and so you had your strategic advantage there, being able to have a really short supply chain and control your crop. I think that's really cool. You're not you're not relying on local farmers to produce your cotton. It's you guys, so you are in complete control of that. Tracy, how big are you guys roughly? I think it's always hard to tell, right? Like, you see different companies on Instagram or X, Y, and Z, and it's hard to tell how big you guys are. Not looking for revenue or anything like that. Just like, how many employees do you guys have? Maybe roughly how many blankets do you guys sell in what's a good month for selling blankets?
It looks different as far as months. Obviously the holiday season is our big time, and so over the span of, I would say, a good like Christmas month, we may sell several hundred blankets in that time, and then along with our other products. We're a small but mighty force. So, we started with me and my husband, and we joked that he would be Employee of the Month every month. He no longer gets that title because he's not doing a lot of the day-to-day stuff. But we have normally had about 2 other part-time employees and a seamstress here at our facility. We were working with another local cut and sew operation, but they closed down about a year ago. And so that's kind of changed a little bit of that process. We've been able to bring that in-house. But we really do a lot with just a very small amount of people, and we just got a really great team to make it all happen. So, really our main job here is packaging the products and processing those online orders. So the production of the product is actually taking place outside of our walls. And so managing that is our main priority in the textile production part of it.
Absolutely. Some small but mighty. We talked Darlington, South Carolina. I think a lot of people aren't going to know exactly where that is. Could you help us understand where in South Carolina is that located in comparison to some of the bigger cities
Yeah.
that people may know of, Greenville, Charleston, etc.?
So we're in the northeast corner of South Carolina. Our big claim to fame is the NASCAR track here. It's what keeps us on the map. But we're about an hour and a half from Columbia, hour and a half from Myrtle Beach. So Darlington's the pearl of the PD, and so it's home. It's a great place to raise a family, and we've seen such support here in our community for what we're doing. So we love being a part of Darlington.
Great. Well, that's sounds like a really pretty area. Is it mountainous there at all? Is it pretty?
No, we're pretty
just
flat.
far?
So agriculture is the number one industry in South Carolina, but certainly here in Darlington, lots of farmland here, and so really just a beautiful area to drive through. When people are coming out to our headquarters out here, so many people are like, I was really curious if I was going to make it. We're just out here in the middle of farmland and just so much of God's beauty.
Absolutely. Well, farmland is gorgeous. There's something special about it. Just being out there in the vast open fields. There's definitely something spiritual about that. Tracy, I want to talk a little bit more about Covered in Cotton. So you've talked a lot about the direct to consumer selling online. Do you guys do any wholesale, or are you guys exclusively direct to consumer online? No middlemen.
So our heart is that someone would purchase one of our products, love it so much they would buy one for everybody they know. And we love being able to connect directly with consumers. We put a handwritten note card in every order that comes from us, and we want people to not only enjoy a really quality product, but understand the story and where it comes from and learn more about cotton and what an incredible sustainable crop it is, and about American agriculture and about our Cotton with a Cause mission. And so that's doing it directly with us. Now, we do have some limited wholesale agreements that we have, mostly on the Southeast, but it's not something that we pursue. As people reach out to us and we kind of put our terms, if it matches up, a lot of times it's, some brick and mortar retail that's doing, a made in America section or made in South Carolina, that kind of thing. And so it fits really well there. But it's not something that we pursue a lot of, because our main desire is that someone would come to our website and read more of our story and get more about the product there.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. I think it's always great to have that direct relationship with your customer. You're able to do that education, build that relationship, and as you mentioned, hopefully build such a good relationship that every time someone they know has a baby, it's like, I know exactly what I'm getting them. Or anytime someone I believe we got 1 or 2 blankets from you guys when we got married. Any of those big life moments. How do you guys find and connect with those customers? What are you guys doing? Is it social media? Is it paid search? How are you guys connecting and finding these customers?
So really we see is this power of storytelling, and how we as humans connect with a story. And so we've been very fortunate that we've had our story shared in a lot of different platforms, locally, nationally, whether on TV or magazine or whatever it may be. And so, and then really the most powerful thing has been just word of mouth. I can't tell you how many people who said, oh, I received one of these and I went to your website, and now whenever somebody, just like you said, has a baby, this is the first thing that I send. And so we see a return customer rate around like 30%.
Wow.
And so for us, that's one of the highest compliments for people to continue to want to purchase Covered in Cotton products. And so that's been the most successful thing for us. We love being able to share our story on social media. We do some paid Google ads, that type of thing. But really, finding opportunities just like this to just share what we're about, share our story, for us is hands down the most effective way to connect with people and have them connect with our story and want to share that story with the person they're giving a gift to or the product they have in their home.
Well, it's such a powerful story that when you are able to tell it to people, I think it's something that they can connect with and relate to, and definitely something that you guys have that imported blanket has no competition. They don't have that story and the passion that you, your husband, and everybody involved clearly have in creating the product. Tracy, we've talked. You started in 2018. Since then, there's been a lot that's happened just in general, right? We've had COVID, we've had all this, we've had prices going sky high. I'm sure there have been some challenges that you have faced in growing covered in cotton. Could you help us understand one or two of those challenges? What the challenge was and how you guys overcame it to come out better, stronger, or pivot to adapt.
Yeah. So being on the agriculture side of what we do, there's its own sets of challenges there in input prices and regulations or labor is a big issue in the agriculture industry, and so we're real involved with being a voice for a lot of those things, and we're involved with Farm Bureau and meeting with legislators and helping to kind of shape some of those things for us to continue as a nation to feed ourselves. And so that's his own set of challenges there for us to just continually grow the most efficient and safe and affordable products on the farm side. For covered in cotton, our biggest challenge, and I think anybody in the textile industry would agree, is continuing to be able to rely on the textile industry in our country. More textile companies close every year than open. And so that for us, just knowing that for what we do and the quality that we need to preserve, having the companies that can still continue to do that. Just like I mentioned, our cut and sew facility that we worked with, it was in our county. It was such a great partnership that we worked so closely together for them to help formulate some of the designs of our products and what that looked like. But they closed down because they didn't have the volume to continue or the workforce to do that. And so that's certainly a challenge that we see across that. We've been very fortunate. The other partners that we have in our process have been amazing, and we're able to continue working with them. But looking down the road, what does that look like for them to continue to operate with their own labor challenges and what margins look like to continue operating here in the U.S. when unfortunately so many have been incentivized to leave and go overseas. So that's probably one of our biggest challenges that we continue to anticipate, and what that continues to look like to keep it here in the U.S.
We've also heard in some of our other interviews, specifically in the textile industry, one of the biggest challenges is a lot of the businesses that are in the textile industry are third, fourth, fifth, even sixth generation businesses. And unfortunately now there's not another generation that wants to take it over. And so that's something else that people have talked about, is that, look, that, maybe it's a tough business, right? Low margins. People are always wanting to go overseas. And so we've heard from some people that, that's another thing that they're worried about, right? Is that there simply won't be someone to come and run it. So I think it is such a close knit community, as we've learned, and so it's cool. It's cool to see that, but there's definitely challenges to the textile industry, and I think it's props to everybody involved in it because it is such a challenging business to be in.
Yeah.
Tracy, what what's next for you guys, right? Like you guys sounds like you're continuing to grow. You're the challenges that come your way, you're figuring out how to get over them and just improve Covered in Cotton. You talked about wanting to share your story. What do what's your big goal for Covered in Cotton? When you're like your North Star, you're like, one day, this is what it would be cool. Is it adding more products? Is it going wider and getting into different home goods? What does that look like for you?
So our mission statement with Covered in Cotton is in 3 parts. And so overall to cultivate. And so cultivate the natural comfort and quality of cotton products made here in the U.S. Cultivate relationships that invite people in to learning more about agriculture. And then cultivate a cause that shares hope. And so that mission statement really doesn't speak to our Covered in Cotton products, which is certainly a part of that. But that 3-prong of our mission really kind of guides us forward and what that's about. So as we move forward, like personally, I want to continue to use this platform to share with more people about the truth of agriculture in our country. And so I've gotten some really great opportunities to do that and want to continue to see that grow. Even creating more content of education of how incredible it is that we plant a seed in the ground and have this natural fiber that comes at the end. It's a really incredible plant and process. And so seeing that continue to grow and opportunities there. And then obviously adding more products. We have some new colors we're working on right now for a new collection of throw blankets that we'll offer in colors. So that's kind of on our horizon to launch this year. Continuing to really grow our staff, because I understand that I can't be the ceiling of this because I have my own limitations and what that looks like to grow something from the very beginning and then hand off responsibility as a small business owner and entrepreneur. Like, that's tough, but required. And so continuing to do more of that and invite more people and their skill sets into what we do. And then I mentioned our Cotton with a Cause mission. And so kind of briefly on that, when the Lord gave us the vision for Covered in Cotton, that was exactly 2 years after our youngest son, Tobin, had bacterial meningitis and had spent 35 days in the Children's Hospital in Columbia and underwent emergency brain surgery. And so we saw the Lord move and work in so many incredible ways during that time. And we had a nurse give us a blanket. Her name was Allie, and she's still a part of our lives. And she gave us a blanket. And so Tobin came out on the other side of all of that, and the Lord has healed him in every way. And he's 9 years old now and doing fantastic. But when we started Covered in Cotton, the Lord brought back to mind Allie and that gift she had given us. And so from the very beginning, when we started, our Cotton with a Cause was for every 10 blankets we sell, we donate one to a children's hospital in South Carolina. And then as we grew and added baby blankets, we also applied that mission there. So for every 10 baby blankets we sell, we donate one to family ministry in South Carolina. And so as we look forward, just continuing to grow that that mission and that opportunity to bless some families with some tangible comfort who have a child or a family member in the hospital. We've started to see that and had opportunities to donate outside of South Carolina. And so we'd like to see that continue to grow in the future, as well as we're able to to add more hospitals and more ministries and organizations and that we're able to donate to.
That's such a cool cause, and I love the personal connection to it too, and how it really was rooted from the beginning of the story, um, giving back, to a cause that's so personal to you guys, and I think it shows that having that connection and that drive outside of just growing covered in cotton for the other reasons that you mentioned, this gives you another reason. The more blankets you sell, the more you can give back, and the more impact you make in different ways. So really appreciate you sharing more about that. Tracy, a couple of questions that I have as we've had this conversation. Do you guys do you have this massive farm? Uh, do you guys do any events for covered in cotton there? Like, do people? I can imagine that there'd be an opportunity for people to want to see like the whole process, like understand it. Do you guys do any education, and bring people to the farm to help them understand how, as you mentioned, it goes from something goes from seed to a final product, whether it's the corn that you guys are growing to, feed the hogs and chickens up in North Carolina, or the cotton that you guys are growing that makes its 500-mile journey and comes right back to the farm where you guys sell these blankets. Do you guys bring people to the farm at all?
Yeah, we do. And it's one of my favorite things. So we built our Covered in Cotton headquarters we finished it in 2021. And so with the hope that this would be a place where we could invite people to see where these products start and share more of that story of agriculture around that. And so we don't have regular retail hours here at our showroom, but we always welcome people to stop in when we are here, processing online orders. And then we have events, at least 4 a year, where we invite people to come and shop, and we usually have giveaways and sales. But then we also do tours for groups. We even work with some local Chamber of Commerce to bring people through the area, and share our Covered in Cotton story, and then also share more about agriculture. And so for us, it's this really great opportunity for us to share this beautiful message of agriculture with people who aren't even asking the questions just yet. And so we have these really great conversations about what it looks like to sow and reap. And, as American agriculture, we provide the safest, most affordable, and most accessible food anywhere on the planet. And less than 2% of the American population are farmers. We count it a real honor to be able to share that story with people and connect it back to a really great product. So we have that opportunity here, with our Covered in Cotton headquarters being right here on the farm.
Absolutely. The podcast hasn't come out yet. We recently chatted with Savannah Bee Company, who you may be familiar with. Um, Such a great group over there. They're very much focused on education as well. And I think their story relates to yours in a lot of ways, where they're very passionate about telling the importance of bees, and what they do for agriculture and our environment. One of the things that they talked about was, having retail stores, is a way for them to increase the education that they are giving to customers. The retail stores are in places like Sedona, Charleston, the Boulder, kind of the touristy spots where lots of people are coming by and they can just get in front of a lot of people. I see a lot of similarities between what you guys are doing and what they're doing. Have you guys ever thought about opening up a retail store, under that idea of, hey, this would allow us to get in front of X number more people, and we can tell the story of American agriculture, to that many more people who weren't expecting to walk into a cute store in downtown Charleston and learn about the importance of American
Right.
agriculture.
It At this point, I have learned that we keep an open hand with whatever the Lord has called us to do next, and so um, that's not anywhere in our short term plans. But I can't say that there wouldn't be a door open somewhere to have that kind of opportunity. So I feel like just as much as people who are seeing our story and see how it's playing out, we're just as much, I feel like, on that same ride of like, we have no idea what will happen next. We can't wait to see either. So um, it's a constant reminder to me. And I think the Lord and how He gave this idea for the business, I'm like really type A. I like to think I have control over all of these things. And so it's a constant reminder to me that, like, this wasn't even my idea. Um,
Yeah.
and so I can keep it with more open hands for the Lord to just mold it into what He has willed for it. And even when we first started, there was this freedom in, if it's successful, like, that's amazing. If it's not, we've just been obedient to what we've been called to. And so the freedom of it not being sustained by us is a really great way to be at peace. And whenever we come against these big decisions, I'm always reminded, I'm like, where did this come from? Where did it start? And I don't have to carry the weight of this myself. And so the Lord's just been really gracious to us and continue to guide us. And so who knows what's on the horizon we may see.
Well, it sounds like the journey has been something that's been life changing, and it's, as you said, it's out of your hands, and you're just on the journey, and so you get to go along for the ride and see where it takes you, and go through the ups and downs, and they're both fun, right? You learn so much from the downs, and you get so much joy from the highs, and it becomes this thing that you're building. I really appreciate you sharing the story with us. Want to touch on two more things before we wrap up here. We talked about the why a little bit. Why build? Why make in America? You talked about the connection to agriculture and the quality. Could you just explain a little bit more of your why, on why you've been so passionate keeping the manufacturing of the blankets here in the U.S. when, as we mentioned, you could overseas it, and your margins could increase. All of this could increase. Why have you been so passionate keeping it here in America?
Yeah. I think this theme we have around family, um, you know, we have a heart for rural America because that's where we live, that's where our farm is, and really in textile, that's where you find a lot of these partners as well. And so, knowing that we're making a product that's directly impacting those communities, providing jobs, and keeping the doors of these textile industry partners, on, and making a difference here in local communities. Like, we're able to travel to these places and meet the people who work there and see that they care about the quality and what we're doing as well. And so that's really special for us, knowing that an impact is made so local and in communities that are right in our backyard. And that's really important to us. Knowing too that we can, as a country, provide goods for ourselves. We talk about in the agriculture world that the ability to feed ourselves is a national security issue. And so, in a sense, being able to provide products for ourselves within our country is also a security issue for us to be able to provide jobs and opportunities for people um, to make these things here is really important. And so, we certainly love being a part of telling that story and making an impact here in our backyard.
Yeah, such a passionate why, and I think you guys have really built covered in cotton around that. So it's really cool to hear that passion from you. We like to end the podcast with the same question. Favorite made in the USA product other than covered in cotton. I love your blankets. I'm sure you love your blankets. But outside of covered in cotton, what are one or two of your favorite made in the USA products that you can't live without?
Oh, that's so hard to narrow it down to that. I would say, I mean, here in South Carolina, we have such a great certified South Carolina grown, like anything agriculture made here in South Carolina is one of our favorites. We offer some homegrown boxes where we do some gift boxes with some other local products. And so I'll give shout outs to those because they're some of our favorites. Altman Farm, as a local farmer that mills their own grits and pancake mix and cornbread, it's just phenomenal. Gillespie's Peanuts, another company right here in Darlington County that has local peanuts and lots of different flavors. And then Red Clay Soap is up in the upstate of South Carolina. They make goat milk soap. And then Cashua Coffee, another company right here in our same Darlington County that grinds their own coffee, and we use in one of our boxes as well. And so just some really great, really local and specific here to even our area companies that we really love.
Oh, you made me hungry. I'm gonna have to go.
I know they're all food, yeah.
Well, Tracy, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think our audience is really going to connect with your story, both your story, your husband's story, and the story of your guys' family building this business up from a dream and where it is today. I want to give you one more opportunity just to say anything else about Covered in Cotton, your journey, and where you guys are headed.
Yeah. I think we covered a lot of it. A lot more of our story can be found on our website, coveredInCotton.com. You can learn more about the story of our son, Tobin, and just the miracles that we got to see and the Lord working and healing him. And then also see a map of where all in the Carolinas our products are made. And so we're really fortunate that we get to share not only our story, but the story of those companies that help make it possible. And so, our social media, we strive to tell that and share a little bit more, mainly Facebook and Instagram. And so, obviously we'd love people to check it out and give us a follow and continue following the journey with us.
Absolutely. Well, we'll link your website and all your social medias in the description. Really appreciate you taking the time today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.